Hi, it's Matt here from Go Green Auto. So this video we're going to look at these cars, the Tesla Model S. And if you're looking at a second-hand older Model S, I'm just going to show you the differences between the earliest Model S that I've got here. That's a 2014 and that's as old as they get in the UK. Or the revised facelift model which came out in 2016. So we'll just look at the differences between these two cars, and because this is a 2016 we'll just concentrate on 2016 or older vehicles here because I've got these two here. But when you're looking at Tesla Model S's for the first time, there is a huge difference in the prices of the cars out there, and indeed these two cars, while they are very similar, that car is £20,000 cheaper than that car. You can almost buy two of those for the price of that. So when you're looking at these for the first time in the second-hand market, it can be very, very confusing. So hopefully this video will give you an idea of what you get for your money and allow you to choose the right car for you. So first off, the Tesla Model S came to the UK in 2014. So this is one of the very earliest models, and they come in battery sizes from 60 to 100 kilowatt hour. But actually, if we're just going to concentrate from 2016 or below, the biggest battery size I think you can get is the 90 kilowatt hour. And they come in rear-wheel drive, single motor, that one is, or this one is a D, and that means it's dual motor. So motor at the back driving the back wheels and a motor at the front driving the front wheels. So that is a four-wheel drive vehicle. And that is one thing that you do have to pay a premium for. The dual motor or the all-wheel drive cars do command quite a bit of a premium over the rear-wheel drive single motor cars. You can also get performance models. A P in front of the battery size there will indicate that it's a performance model. The older ones, particularly like that, you had a plus model as well, which again was performance, and you also get an underline which shows it's got the ludicrous mode. And you do pay a premium again for the performance models. But certainly wouldn't feel hard done by with the standard rear-wheel drive. These are still incredibly fast cars, got a lot more performance than the majority of ICE vehicles on the road, including performance cars. So the nice thing about the Tesla is it hasn't changed much. Even these very earliest models look almost the same as the even the new generation one, the 2022 model that's coming. The only thing that has changed is the front. So the original models had these black nose cones, so the sort of the fake grille, and then in 2016 they facelifted it and did away with that. The Tesla badge looks a little bit more prominent even though it's no bigger, but the only thing that's changed is the front bumper, the headlights. The bonnet is slightly different, not much in that, but the rest of the car is absolutely identical. They did change the wheel designs, and they've done that a few times over the years, but if we look at the back of the car there, they just haven't changed the back or the side profile at all. So yeah, unless you really know your Teslas, there's not much difference between the older versions and the new version. And indeed, since I've had this, I've met friends, they don't know anything about Teslas, and they assume it's still a new car even though they haven't noticed it's a 14 plate. Let's just look at the interior. So again, the interiors on the Model S haven't changed much. So we're looking at the very earliest model here, and there's not really much difference between this and the very latest model. So the new model, the plaid model, which will be coming to the UK probably in 2023, has changed. So they've now gone to a portrait screen like you get in a Model 3. And you can get the yoke steering wheel, and they've also put a screen in the back. But from all cars from 2014 to 2022, they all pretty much look the same. And the nice thing with the Tesla is, of course, you get these over-the-air updates. So the older cars look exactly the same as the newer cars because they all get the same updates and the improvements on the dash and the center console screen. So the earlier cars had these slightly flatter seats, which are called Gen 1 seats, and they generally come in cream, or they also did a grey leather as well, and you can get a black cloth. So in the facelift cars from 2016, you get a seat redesign, and these are called next gen seats, and basically the difference is they've got thicker bolsters on the side, so they hug you into the seat a little bit more, and the padding is thicker on them. So certainly you sit higher up in these. You can't lower the seat as low. Well, it feels like you can't lower the seat as low. It's obviously because the padding is thicker. You do feel like you sit higher up with these than you do with the original seats. And supposedly these are a little bit more comfortable because they've got thicker padding, but I don't find the original seats uncomfortable at all. And actually, I think I personally prefer the original seats because you can get in and out a little bit easier because you're not lifting your bum over the bolsters, and probably on the high mileage cars the original flatter seats will have less wear on than the next gen seats. But certainly if you're going to be driving fast, and maybe if you've got a performance model, then these seats are better because they are going to hold you in if you're flying around corners a lot, and generally people always want the latest and greatest. So for long distance driving, maybe these seats are a little bit more comfortable, but again, I wouldn't be feel hard done by if I've got Gen 1 seats. So if you were weighing up whether it's worth paying extra for a car with the next gen seats, it's worth noting that the back seats, here we're looking at the earlier car, are pretty much similar to the next gen seats. The base and the back are pretty much the same. All they've changed is made the headrests taller, which are better for adults, to be honest. So if you're carrying adults in the back frequently, then these seats would be a bit better. But if you're only carrying children, or to be honest, most of us don't carry rear passengers too often, then the main change is really just thicker padding and the bolsters on the front seats. So next up, the earlier cars have an open centre console here. I know people are going to be screaming in the comments that I should have tidied the car before filming it, just like they do if I film a dirty car and they complain that I should have washed it before filming it. But this is my car, and this is the sort of rubbish I have to keep in the car now in these times: masks and hand gel. But anyway, so yeah, on a Tesla you don't get door pockets and you don't get any little storage bins or cubbies, so everything ends up going in the center console and it's all on display. The only little storage cubby you get in a Tesla is this tray here underneath the screen. It's a shame that this center box here with the cup holders and armrest doesn't open at all like it would on other cars, so there's a huge space inside there which could have been utilized, but they haven't. So on the earlier cars it is all open like this, whereas the later cars that's next door does have a center console, which I'll show you in a minute. However, on these cars you can buy third-party products that snap in here to give you a center console, or indeed Tesla now sell one, which is basically the same product that's in there. The Tesla one is expensive. I think it's 1,200 quid. I might be wrong. I'm sure people will correct me in the comments. And I've been looking at these sort of products to tidy this space up, because what I actually would like is my cup holders here, because when the cup holders are back here, they're too far back and it's a little bit awkward to get to them, and actually it's in the way of your arm. You can't really use the armrest if there's a cup there. So yes, it's much nicer to have the cups in the center console here. So yeah, that's the main advantage of getting one of those consoles. So if I just get in the newer car here, this is the center console you get on the newer models. So we've still got a little cubby tray there under the screen, and then in here we've got a bit of storage space, and you have these removable dividers that you can make two cup holders in there. A little bit crude, to be honest. You end up with space up there which you can't utilize, and the cup holders do take up all the storage space. But anyway, and then at the back here you have a panel here to put your phone on charge, in this case an Apple phone, because we've got the connector there for an Apple, and a little bit of storage there. So yes, the centre console does make the car feel a little bit more traditional. Still no door bins or any other storage on the facelift cars. Model S's can have coil spring suspension or air spring suspension. So on vehicles with air suspension, you get this extra tab here where you can adjust your suspension, and it remembers the location. So a typical scenario where you might want to adjust the suspension is if you've got a little curb to get over or a steep drive, and it remembers the location. So if you adjust the suspension, it will automatically remember that location. So every time you come into your drive, in this example, it will automatically raise, so you don't have to do it. So it's quite a nice feature. However, when you're looking at older cars, air suspension can be more troublesome than standard coil springs, and they are a lot more expensive to replace. I believe cars with air suspension can suffer more tyre wear. I believe they wear on the inside edge, or can wear on the inside edge, more than cars with coil spring suspension. So next, let's talk about autopilot, because this is a big one. So my car here, 2014, has absolutely no autopilot on it. It doesn't even have a camera up there in the screen. It's got no radar. The earlier ones don't have any driver assistance at all, but this car has autopilot 1, and you can tell cars that have got autopilot because they've got a camera there up in the windscreen. They've also got a radar at the front, but with this one you can't see it there in the grille, so I'm assuming this has got radar. I'm pretty sure it does have a radar. I don't know quite where they hide it on these. But this one is autopilot 1, so it doesn't have the cameras on the side. So the way you can tell the difference in autopilot 1 cars and autopilot 2 is autopilot 2 has a camera built in here in the side indicators, and you also have a camera up here in the black panel between your front window and your rear window. The Autopilot 2 hardware came in on 2017 cars, or some very late 2016 cars might have that fitted. But I wouldn't dismiss Autopilot 1 cars. They are still very, very good. Indeed, my own car here doesn't have any of it. I don't miss it at all, even though I've had previous cars with similar semi-autonomous driving. I very rarely used it. But when you're looking at second-hand Model S's, people always want the latest and greatest, and generally 2016 cars, people would often want to pay that little bit extra and get a 2017 car because it's got Autopilot 2. However, Autopilot 1 cars still do a very good job. So if I look at the screen here, we've still got auto steer, we've still got summon. What summon is where you can use the app to maneuver the car, like if you want to get it out of a tight parking space or so. You still got lane change on indication. So yeah, let's just have a look. It tells you here. So highway autopilot enables the car to steer, automatically change lanes, accelerate and brake automatically for other vehicles and pedestrians within its lane. Also includes summon and auto park. So yeah, auto park 1 is still a very good system. You still get the visualization up there on the screen. Actually, let's just try it. So let me just drive into this parked van in front of us, and we can see there we've got the visualization of another car, and you get the same on the side. You can see bikes and things. So yeah, don't assume Autopilot 1 is automatically worth dismissing just because it's a bit older than Autopilot 2. There's not, at the moment, until full self-driving gets rolled out, there's not a huge advantage of having Autopilot 2. Particularly if you're not the type that's going to be using it a lot, and it's not going to be doing a lot of long distance motorway driving. So next I'll briefly talk about the differences between your computers and your multimedia system. So they've all got the same screen, they all have Google Maps and navigation and everything you'd expect. And because Teslas do over-the-air updates, they all get improved and they're all pretty much the same level. However, these older cars, they had an 8 gig memory chip in them, and they are suffering failures now on the older ones because they basically run out of space and they're read and writing log files, and eventually they fill up and they will black screen and fail. Tesla are now doing a free of charge upgrade because it's now officially a recall. This car has been done, so this has had its 8GB memory chip replaced with the newer 64GB chip. So that gets done free of charge, and Tesla will let you know when they're ready to do that job. So you don't have to worry about that. However, there are also 2 speeds of processor. So this has got the original one, it's called MCU1. MCU2, the faster processor, is only available on cars of 2018 onwards. So these aren't quite as fast as the newer cars, but it's pretty good. The only thing I find this is slow at is sometimes slow loading the music or the radio because it's reliant on an internet connection. And web browsing is horrendously slow. We are in an area where I've got very poor signal. Yeah, see how slow that was loading, but we're trying to load a website here, actually, the Go Green Autos website, and that just takes absolutely ages, and it can take minutes. So I believe the MCU2 is much snappier for web browsing, but to be honest, it's something that you really probably don't use in your car much. After all, no other cars you can browse the internet on the screen. But you can have the MCU fitted in these earlier cars, but I think the price is £1,400 from Tesla to have that replaced. So I certainly don't think it's worth it for a faster web browser and a little bit of a faster interface. The rest of it works generally fast enough. So yeah, it's not worth the money. When you've got MCU2, you also do get more games, and you also get YouTube and Netflix. So they would be very handy to watch a film when you're charging or whatever. But you don't get those options on MCU1. But we're in the newer car here, which has got the MCU1, and you still have a reasonable selection of games. When comparing these 2 cars, the 2014 car there, or this one, the 2016, there's very little differences between the screens here on the 2 cars. The only thing I've noticed is when we're in the 2016 car here and we go to Toy Box, we've got the James Bond mode, the submarine mode here, which I don't have in my car. Next, let's talk about supercharging. So all cars up to the end of 2016 had free supercharging with the vehicles when they were new. However, that doesn't mean they still do when you're looking at these second hand. So this 2014 car still does have free supercharging, whereas this 2016 car did when it's new, but it now doesn't. That is because this car was part exchange back into Tesla, and the current owner of this car purchased it from Tesla, and what they do is they remove the free supercharging from any vehicles they have in. So you have to be careful when you're looking at second-hand vehicles. So just because it is of a certain age doesn't mean that it is still getting that free supercharging. The other thing to bear in mind with these older Model S's is they have a Type 2 charging port, and a lot of the new Tesla superchargers going in are CCS only. So a lot of earlier Tesla drivers had the CHAdeMO adapting cable, and that allowed them to charge their car using DC power on a CHAdeMO rapid charger. But on these cars we now have a CCS retrofit, which is available from Tesla. So it is only £281 installed, and a ranger will come out and fit it. And I've recently had this car done, and what you do is you get this adapter which plugs into your charging port here, which gives you CCS, and they fit a new ECU under the rear seat. It's well worth getting. It's a small price for the extra flexibility this gives you. So not only can you charge on all the other public chargers out there that have got CCS, of course, it also means you can use the latest Tesla superchargers, and there's new sites going in now in the UK where it's only got version 3 CCS Tesla superchargers. So it's pretty much an essential upgrade to get done, but fortunately it doesn't cost much money. It's worth noting it's only the older cars that can have a sunroof. So this car has got the full panoramic roof like the later cars do, but this section can open and slide over the rear section. But it's only these cars with the optional sunroof that you can fit roof bars. So if you want to carry bikes on the roof, then you have to look for cars that have got a sunroof, and you can tell that because they've got these flaps here with the captive nuts there that you attach the roof bars to. And this car here has also got the optional roof, but being a later model, they've tidied up these mounting sections. So I think that's about it. I hope you found that useful. This is just to give you some pointers when you're looking at second-hand Model S's at some of the differences, because there are huge differences in the price of these vehicles second-hand. So the main things that command the extra money is firstly the size of the battery pack, whether it's a 60, 75, 80, 85, 90 or 100 kilowatt hour battery, whether it's a single motor rear wheel drive or a dual motor all wheel drive, whether it's a performance model, whether it's got the facelift front end, and then other things like the trim differences, whether it's got the premium interior or the air suspension or the sunroof, don't really make a huge difference in the prices. So I think that's about it. I hope you found this useful, because when you're looking at Tesla Model S's for the first time on the used market, it can be a bit bewildering why cars that all look very similar can have such a huge difference in price. And if you found this video useful, please do click that thumbs up on YouTube. That really does make a difference. It basically means more people will see this video in their newsfeed, and so does subscribing. So if you haven't, please do subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell icon, and you'll be notified when I upload a new video, and more videos coming soon.